Okay. Wait for it to get going. Okay, there we go. Check it. It looks like it's live. Okay, come on. Wait for it to get going. There we go. We are live. Fantastic. Let me get back to Zoom. And Keynote. Great. So tonight we're going to go through, we're going to welcome, we're doing now, of course, we're going to do volunteer and member announcements. We've got tech Q&A. We do have one. Oh, and you have to hit got it on your screen. Tech Q&A, news and rumors. There's really not a lot on that because Apple, that's mainly what we're giving a presentation on tonight. And it's about the new stuff that is available now. One thing that's still going to be available next week, and the iOS 16 I'm going to hit on, and then we're going to go into detail on all of this stuff, but more particularly iOS 16 this coming Saturday, October 1st, for that class. So yeah, and actually when we get into the rumors, Dale, I'll talk about that. Good point. And then, of course, we have the virtual raffle at the end. So if you want to make sure that you have your first and last name entered on the screen, and it looks like we have everybody. Good. All right. And just of note, the next meeting will be our anniversary meeting in October. And that's our 30, if I want to say, I think it's our 37th year, if I'm not mistaken. So
it's 38.
38. Okay, I was off by
I
one.
think.
No, it could be. And Bob's been here almost since the beginning. So
Al's been here longer.
What's that?
Al has me by several years.
Really? Well, that's great.
He was one of the originals.
Wow, missing Al tonight. Anyway, especially because he does great links. But the good thing is the good news is I won't be doing a bunch of links tonight. So anyway, what we're going to go do now is we'll go back to the screen here. And do we have any announcements from the volunteers or the members? And you feel free. It's easiest if you raise your hand by clicking reactions, or feel free to unmute yourself and just speak up. That's fine also. So
don't forget to vote after the first of the month.
Oh yeah. Bob is got it all set up with Election Monkey, I believe it's called, right, Bob?
Right, and everybody's eligible to vote. Yep. I sent out emails to last night.
And so at the stroke of midnight on the morning of October 1st, you're able to vote, and do like they do in Chicago, vote early and vote often. And it's a very highly contested race. So there are just enough candidates for the positions open. And so I think it may be somewhat of a unanimous, but please, you have to vote because the bylaws require a certain level of participation in the vote. So please vote, and every vote counts. Any questions on the voting or anything else there? It's repeating board and vice president on there. So, and you can only vote once the way it's set up. So it's got, they were smart when they designed it that you can't vote more than one time. Randy, I see you there. I'm going to make you a co-host, help with mic management.
Are you allowed to tell us who's running?
Do we have
to wait? Do we have to wait? For
yes. No, that's, well, I don't want to, that's kind of like giving the end of the movie away.
Yeah,
Actually,
look at your instructions. The three names you see there are the actual people.
Yeah, but it's Thomas Spencer, Rich right? Rich Pearson and Bob Ress, was it? Or who was the other one?
Oh, Al.
Al, that's right. And they've all decided to run again. So I have a quick little funny story about giving away the end of a movie. When I was in Morocco, we were in this really old area called Volubilis, which is where Patton went through because he went through Morocco to go to North Africa. And our tour guide was showing us on his phone, he had a picture right where we were standing where Patton made a big speech in the movie, Patton. And so we had this 24-year-old girl that was there with her mom, and she kind of went like, well, what movie, Patton, And so I yelled out, don't give away the ending. So World War II, we kind of all knew the ending, but that was pretty funny. That was not funny. It was fun. It was really neat. So anyway, moving on, any other announcements from anybody? Okay, so we are doing an in-person meeting for it. Unfortunately, I will be crossing over the Atlantic Ocean about the time the meeting is going on. So we will have somebody else hosting it, and it's our regular meeting. And I got to tell you, the raffle prizes are great. And of course, it's you're going to be able to participate on Zoom, but also it'll be in person, and it will be at St. Mark's in the fireside room, which is upstairs where we normally have the first Saturdays. And the meeting is at 7 p.m. So thanks ahead for the volunteers that are putting that together. I know Cheryl and the Beckers getting the goodies together, and we'll have a great raffle. And it's our big raffle of the year. So odds are pretty good. I'm going to see if I can get Wi-Fi in the plane so I can at least participate in the raffle, but I kind of doubt it. So anyway, anybody else have any other announcements? News, we're really going to talk about that, but Dale Steele asks about, he says there are rumors of another Apple event probably in October. And yeah, there's half-hearted rumors, because what happens is the event we just had was Apple's iPhone event, and they don't try to muddy the waters with too many other things. They introduced a new set of AirPods and a new Apple Watch, and it's been the iPhone and Apple Watch event. And part of the reason they don't bring in MacBook Pros or iPads or anything else in that event is because the audience of that event is not just us Apple fanatics, it's the press, and they want to keep them there for the whole hour and a half. And they don't want to, everybody's concerned about the iPhone is the biggest deal. So they want to make sure that it's not, it doesn't deprecate what they're doing, the enthusiasm. So a lot of times in October, they will have another event. They have in the past, but sometimes they don't do the event when they're just simply not really introducing anything new in the laptop. They're just putting, like, maybe in the MacBook Pros, it goes from an M1 to an M2 or something like that. So it's still questionable whether they will have an October event or not. The pundits are kind of half and half. And Dale, I think it's great you brought it up. And there's talk that the new MacBook or the new iPad Pros will have the M2 chip in it. So the person that was talking about her iPad, yeah, you might want to wait for that if you're going to get the Pro again. And there is talk of a new version of the regular iPad, the original iPad. We'll go from there. So any questions on that? I don't really have any other rumors or anything in that regard. Okay, so next we go to questions and tech questions. We did have one that got mailed in or emailed in. We finally got it, and it was how to do backtracking on the Apple Watch. So I'm going to show that from my Apple Watch. I'm going to share my phone. This is a new thing that's really cool with the newer phone and iOS 16. and the new watch and my phone. Oh, there it goes. Great. So if I go here to my Apple Watch and I go to, I'm sorry, this is my phone. I go to accessibility, and then down here it says Apple Watch mirroring. And when I tap that, I turn it on, and now my Apple Watch shows up on the screen. So everybody can do this. Let me get this other stuff out of the way. Great. So I can manipulate the Apple Watch on my phone. So this is also good if people have trouble reading their Apple Watch. So the thing with the new iOS, and this doesn't, I have the new Ultra, but this works with even older Apple Watches. And as long as it has the Compass app, you can do backtracking. And there's two, and what backtracking means is, as you're going along, we in GPS parlance, they sometimes call it leaving breadcrumbs. In other words, and breadcrumbs don't work if you're out in the wild, because some animal's going to eat your breadcrumbs and then you can't find your way back. But that's what they call it. It's leaving backtracks, or in the case of walking through the snow, being able to see your footprints. But backtracking is done with GPS waypoints. Since your phone and now your watch always have GPS, you can tell it to start tracking. And then as you walk along, you'll go, and you can even tap waypoints if you want. If it's, let's say there was even sidewalks or a trail where there's a left or a right or go straight, you can make that a mark. So you could leave another breadcrumb there. And then what you can do is you can always find your way back, because it will direct you along the track or breadcrumbs that you left. So I'll show you how that works. There's a couple ways to do it. One is the button that's on the bottom of the right hand of the watch, the oval button, the one that has the gear, the round one, is called the crown. But, and don't everybody do this, just watch. I'm going to press and hold it until we get this screen and you see backtrack comes in. Don't continue to hold it once this comes up, or it's going to call 911. But you can see there, I have Compass backtrack as an option. So I'm going to show you the other way. So in this, what's called complication I have on my phone, you can see there's a little bubble at the 9 o'clock, right where 9 o'clock is. If I tap that, it comes in with my compass, and I'm now rotating my watch around on my wrist, and you can see it. But in the lower right, I have those little feet. And when I press that, it will say, oh, would you like to start backtrack? So now I can do backtrack, and it started. And then you can see it will leave little dots along the path. Now you're seeing it on my phone, but I would be using just my watch, and I'm moving my wrist around so you can see that I'm moving that. And then I can give it a tap. And actually in the lower left, I left a flag there, and I say, okay, that's a location, done. And then I can pause it, and I can retrace steps. So that's backtracking. Any questions while I have that up? Bev, you have a question. Is it about this? You're muted.
I have a question.
Tim, this is Dennis. I just wanted to thank
Hang
you
on,
for doing
just
that.
hang on. Well, one at a time. Bev, is yours a backtrack question?
It's on something else.
Okay, so hang on. And there were two other people that spoke up.
Yeah, sorry.
Tim,
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
this is Dennis. I was the one that asked you the question, and I appreciate you going through that. I've had a little difficulty making it to work, but I think now I can make it happen. Thank you.
Good. And Dennis, by the way, please find where on the website you found that address.
I will. I have to go back and look a little bit.
Yeah,
but I
because
dug-
I've scoured the website and I want to fix that. He had an old an email address on there, and luckily we got his email through a different channel. But I want to correct that on the website. So
I will definitely do that. Thanks again.
and before we get to Bev, we had one other question. Go ahead. Who was it?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't follow you, how you got to this AirPlay mirroring. Where was that?
So do you have, how new is your phone?
Brand new.
Okay. So go into and your iOS 16,
16 point whatever.
your watch is updated.
Yes.
Okay. Go into on your phone, go to settings,
Uh-huh.
accessibility,
Ah,
and then look for Apple Watch mirroring.
okay, got it.
This is something new, and I am so happy that I found out about this, because for me to be able, it's always, I used to have a camera rig where I rigged up my phone on a tripod to look at the thing on my wrist, but this just does great, and I can actually touch the phone and manipulate it.
Oh, that's
So you
great.
can control the watch from the phone. So the nice thing is now when I help people with tech support remotely, I have them put their phone up on the screen just like this, and I can watch them do their watch now too. So too
Great.
many watch words in there. All
Excellent.
right. Any other questions on the backtrack or the GPS? Well, I've got that. I'll return it to the home screen. And actually, I'm going to turn backtracking off, delete steps. And I think it'll be, let's see, delete steps, and yeah, there's the compass coming up. The nice thing is your compass, by the way, gives you your altitude also. And in this complication that I have, you can see that I'm at 254 feet, and 52 degrees is my compass heading. But when I tap it, oh, it didn't, hang on. It puts it into compass mode. So it's really, really neat. This is the new Ultra, but all your watches and your phones have compass in them. So Bev, go right ahead, and then Elaine after that.
Yeah, my question is about cameras that would be mounted on a desktop monitor on a setup that doesn't have the internal camera. In all things Apple, I think it was Al suggested a camera that he had bought and someone else just went ahead and bought it also. So I was looking at it, and it didn't seem to have a little cover lens. And right next door on Amazon, it was saying other ones to consider, and it could see where you had a little shutter that you could move over the lens. And I see people that will put paper over the camera to block it, the lens. What's the thoughts on that? Does one want a camera that can have a mechanical shutter put over
Don't
it?
make that be a determining factor on your camera, because a piece of tape will work wonders. So don't make that be the determining factor on your camera.
Is there much concern that the camera can be watching? I mean, I haven't had that.
Well, first of all, most Apple devices have a built-in camera, and there's no way for anyone to hack that the light won't come on and tell you when it's being used. Now, that's not to say that other webcams couldn't be hacked, but I think it's highly unlikely. But they usually have a thing on them that will show, like I have this, I'm using a webcam on a 32-inch monitor, and it has a red light whenever it's on. So I don't worry about it, because you'll know on your Mac, usually it'll tell you if something's running. In fact, on my Mac, in the upper right corner, right up where the time is, there's a yellow indicator showing, oh, that's actually showing that my microphone's on, I believe, because it's a green light for a camera and a yellow light for a microphone. So, and I have an external mic too. So I don't think it's a big concern, but people do it. I frankly, like I have a second monitor over here where I have a built-in, it's the Apple Studio display, not the new one, it's the old one, the old cinema display. And I put just the regular Scotch tape over it, because then it's that kind of that you can't make out it. It's like frosted glass. So, but I would not compromise the one you get just because it doesn't have a little shutter thing on it.
Okay.
And there are these, because this is a big deal now, because many of the cars have interior cameras right above the rear view mirror, and they make a little stick-on thing that's got a little slider on it. And I'm sure you could find one of those where it's just online and just look for sliding camera cover, and it's self-adhesive, put it on, and it's just got a little slide, and that would block it. So
Okay,
good luck
thank
with
you.
that.
Yeah.
Elaine, go ahead.
Yeah, so my partner went from a phone that's an SE to an iPhone 12. And we're trying to figure out how you check the exact amount of battery charge, because on the SEs, it says the percentage battery charge. The little symbol of the charger is so small, you can't really tell how charged your phone is. Is there a way to see the percent charged on the
Well,
iPhone 12?
in the update to the OS, they are putting it in the battery now. But if you actually pull down from let's see, the SE is a fingerprint phone though, isn't it?
Yes, the SE is, but I'm asking about the iPhone 12.
Oh, the 12. So if you pull down from the upper right, as you pull down from the top, here, I'll display my phone. As I pull down from the top, see, it gets bigger.
Yeah,
I'm pulling down from the upper right corner.
upper right corner.
Yeah. That's called Control Center.
Okay.
You have to go off the screen, off the bezel, and then pull down and just swipe down, and you can see that. That's how you get to Control Center.
Yeah, thank you.
And I think there may be, when you go into battery, yeah. So then you have to turn on percentage in the preferences.
Okay.
System settings, battery. See if I turn that percentage off. Well, it didn't do it. But there's been some turmoil on that, and they're changing how it looks up there, because it wasn't up there for a while. So
Great.
now I think it's persistent.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question. Anybody else with any questions?
Yeah, circle back on Bev's question about the camera. Let's say I put some masking tape on the lens. What about the microphone?
Well, if you're concerned about the microphone, you can put tape over it also. It muffles it pretty well. In fact, I was talking to someone, I forget.
I'm done, Bev.
I was talking to someone, and it was they were very muffled, and I'm going, what's going on? And I said, man, I can't hear you. And it sounded like they were, distant in another room, and they had a piece of paper over the camera on their iMac. And on the iMacs, they are, on most of the iMacs, right where the camera is, on the top aluminum, there are these laser drilled dots that are so small, they look like they're a flaw, but they're actually the microphone. And so if you put tape over it, it does a really good job. He just had paper sitting there from the block from the camera, but if you put tape over it, it'll muffle it because it can't detect the air movement to pick up the sound.
Got it, thanks.
Okay. But again, you'll know if that stuff's on. It's a yellow dot if the microphone's on, and it's a green dot if the microphone and the camera are on. So, any other questions? Okay. News and rumors. Yeah, there really isn't much. So we can probably dig into the any other tech things though, too. That's right. So were there any other tech things that people were having questions about? Go ahead, Vic. Oh yeah, this is a perfect time. Vic, ask your question.
Hi, I'm curious about the sleep mode or sleep recording on the Apple Watch.
So is anyone here using the sleep tracker on the
Yes.
Apple Watch? I don't have experience with it. I think Al does, but he's not here. Bev, it looks like you do. And then anybody else, go ahead, Bev, if you could help out. He's got some blank spots in it.
Well, it's not that so much. I just want to, I'm curious about the accuracy of it. Is
Yeah.
it's telling me how much REM sleep and how much deep sleep and so on I'm getting.
Oh, well, I'm not getting that. I don't have the REM. I just have when I'm asleep and when I'm not asleep and when I've gotten up, and it will show blocks of time, but I haven't gotten to the more exotic one of REM time.
Okay, I just scroll, well, there's a graph and if I scroll up, it's digital.
That's
Um,
just on the standard sleep app
uh-huh.
in the health section.
Yeah, but it's the watch. It's using the watch as the monitor.
Yeah.
Well, I'm wearing my watch at night. It does a nice job on the O2 saturations.
Yes, it does.
A disturbingly good job.
And which app are you using for that?
The built-in one.
Huh. I use Auto Sleep, the app Auto Sleep. It has a lot of good data and it seems very accurate.
Mary, did you have something on this?
No, it
Well,
was a
then let's hang
different,
on. Let's hang on and finish
yeah,
this.
it was a different question. Sure.
Okay. So yeah, auto sleep. And there's a friend of mine. In fact, Vic, if you send me an email, I have a friend that's out here at Lincoln Hills. He's been doing it a lot, and he does it extensively. My feeling is I find that people that obsess about the sleep apps are the one that causes them to get less sleep.
That's very good. Thank you. Thanks for your help. Thanks for
Yeah, and you, I think you have my email, so go ahead and
I
send me
do.
that and I'll forward it to Bill. He's
Terrific.
very, very good. He's got a lot of stuff going on right now, but he's pretty good about that. So
Thanks for your generosity.
Joan, is yours about the sleep thing or a different question?
Different.
Okay, let's go to Mary then. Mary, ask your question, please. She was before you, Joan.
Yeah, I've seen something about quick notes as opposed to regular notes, and I'm just not getting what they are and the advantage of them and how to use them really. Anybody
Yeah,
familiar with it?
That's a good question. And I just saw something recently on it, and I just go in and do my notes, and I think it just does a quick one. I've not used it, but maybe someone else in here has. Has anybody had experience using Quick Notes? Because it's only been out for the last 2 operating systems, I believe. And it's part of Notes, but it's just one to do a real quick one.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it is included on your regular notes list.
Yeah,
or
it
new
is.
ones or what?
It is part of Notes, and it's just so you can access it quickly and just put it in, where with regular notes there's kind of a folder structure and things like that. I think a Quick Note is kind of its own folder, so to speak, but don't quote me. I would recommend you could even go into Apple on the YouTube of Apple support, or just Google iPhone Quick Notes, and you're going to get so much on it.
I'll try that. Thank you.
Good luck. And then you can report back. You have homework to do, Mary. All right, Joan, go right ahead.
Well, I'm still having trouble with my car and the volume on the.
Get a new car.
Pardon?
Get a new car. Get an Apple car.
When they have them. But it's flaky. It's the new system and it's flaky. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah,
Except that I will now follow
no.
your directions.
Now, do you have a new phone or just a new operating system?
New operating system.
Yeah, and that happens. And I would imagine if you've Googled it, you'll probably find a bunch. It happens. And part of the reason is, it's funny because years ago, Steve Jobs said that HDMI was a bag of hurt because of the licensing requirements and stuff like that. But Bluetooth is also a bag of hurt because there are criteria that people follow or are supposed to follow, but don't. And so it's Apple tries to do it like it's supposed to be, but other people have done things differently. And then they find these bugs, and then which side fixes it, who knows? So it really, yeah,
Well, it's not even going through the car. It doesn't go through the phone. I don't hear the voice on the phone.
well, wait a minute.
Sometimes I
What
do
voice? Wait. You don't hear what voice on the phone?
for navigation.
Right. And that's a problem with Bluetooth.
Okay.
And it's your car trying to talk to the phone, and it's your phone trying to talk to the car. And
Well, even if I'm at home, I have to use, I can't, it just does, the phone itself just doesn't make the sound. If I put it on Google Maps, I hear voices and directions. If I put it on Apple Maps, I don't get any voice or directions.
well, so that's a whole different issue, because that's not Bluetooth.
Okay.
So in Apple Maps, so first of all, when it's doing directions, you need to make sure, well, first of all, you need to go. So this is actually one thing that's important people should set, because I've seen that it's not set anymore by some people. So let's go into my phone, excuse me. I'm in settings,
Okay.
and I'm going to go down to sound and haptics. There it is, sound and haptics. And one of the important things here that is off for a lot of people is where it says change with buttons. That should be on, which means when you use the volume up and down, no matter what it is, it'll work. The buttons will work to adjust that. So make sure that's on.
Okay. Now it's on.
Okay, good. And now what happens is when you go to Apple Maps and you start doing navigation, you have to time it for when it should be speaking to you. And then you hit the volume up button on the phone, because what happens is the volume on the phone is like right now, if I do it, well, I can't do it because I'm hooked into this thing. But if I'm playing music, let's say I'm playing Apple Music, I set the volume, I raise it up or down depending on, well, and actually what's interesting is if I plug headphones in, the volume I set remembers that. If I'm using a Bluetooth speaker, it remembers that. If I'm using the external speaker, they're all independent. And that's why you have to adjust the volume up or down with the app you're using and the device that you're on. If I changed to podcast and I was listening to podcasts, I would have to play the volume up or down. It doesn't matter if the volume was right when I made a phone call or it was right with music. I have to adjust it independently. And that was a breakthrough on one of the very first things with the iPhone that made it great, because in the old days, you had volume up or volume down for everything on a phone. So you might have wanted to have your ringer quiet, but you wanted to have the voice when you were on it loud. So you have to be in that and then adjust it. So that's the only way I can say to try it. And if not, have you Googled it to see if anybody else is having the same issues?
Not yet.
Well, it's been going on for 3 meetings now. So I would suggest that you,
This has only come up since I put 16 on the phone.
no, you were having this trouble before.
No, that what you saw on Facebook was recent.
No, but you brought it up at the last meeting we had.
Okay, I don't remember.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's what it is. But then the Bluetooth syncing to the car is a whole nother deal. And it's just that they change things and it upsets some of the cars, not all the cars, some of the cars. And it's just weird. And it's only because they couldn't anticipate the way that the other manufacturers were dealing with Bluetooth. So it's tough. And the other problem in the car is phone calls will come through and go through the speakers because that's priority Bluetooth. But if you're listening to the radio, for instance, it's unlikely it's going to give you directions from the phone because it can't pick through. You would have to be listening to the radio on the phone, like a podcast or music, and then the directions will work because it's a selected item. It's just gets really confusing because in a car you can have different things. You have AM, FM, you have CD. Who knows? You may even have an 8-track. But 8-track was before Bluetooth, definitely. So, all right. Any other? Those are great questions, by the way.
Thank
And
you.
it's hard on the car because everyone is different. So,
Can I interject one thing here?
yeah, Bob, go ahead.
First troubleshooting question for a car is, look at the switch on the side of your phone. Do you have it muted?
Are you talking to me?
Well, believe it or not, I've had.
Yeah,
probably
the
10
one right
people I've
above the
talked to,
volume, that slider
6 or
switch.
7 of them, that was what the
No.
problem was.
No, I did not have it.
Yeah,
muted.
and Bob, that
Okay,
actually,
but
that-
that's
'cause I
like
keep
checking
mine
the
on-
wires.
Bob,
Right.
I keep mine off all the time, and my directions still come through.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
but I'm
only
just talking-
silences.
I'm I'm referring just normal conversation. on the
Yeah,
phone.
That's a good thing to check. I
Yeah.
appreciate
yeah,
it.
and again, it's weird. You have to be in it when the volume goes up
Yeah.
in that particular thing, and that's like it's when it's giving directions, not just when it's not giving directions. Raising the volume won't do anything because it's not using the speaker right then. It's when it's using the speaker, you need to use the volume. And obviously, if you can't hear the directions, but usually when you fire up navigation in the beginning, it'll say some stuff. So just sit there and keep pressing the volume up button. All right. And yeah, try it with like a headset too and see if that works, because that'll tell you. All right. Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay, great. Gosh, we got 39.
I do have one
Go,
clarification.
go ahead.
MacNexus next meeting in October is going to be on the 27th and it's going to be at the church, correct?
Correct. And on Zoom.
And on Zoom. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
And that for now is our only in-person meeting. So we'll see. And again, the raffle, there will not be raffle tickets on sale, but everyone gets a raffle ticket and everyone's entered in the raffle. And if you cannot attend either Zoom or in person, we still have, I think it's, Lisa, was it 2 or 3 for the whole membership? You're muted.
Okay, techno challenge. We currently have one for the all member, and we'll be looking at that issue on Saturday.
Yeah, we'll determine that. We may do some additional ones, but like tonight when we do the raffle, we offer one of the raffles to everybody, even if they're not here.
Yeah.
And
And
that
the
meeting
meeting's
is
on the 26th.
26, not the
26th.
27th.
Great, thank you. Yeah, 26. That's the day I'm flying, so I
Yeah.
should have remembered that. Heading to Iceland. All right. And I don't see. Oh, Louise. Go ahead, Louise.
Hello. I almost hesitate to say anything because you warned me, but I upgraded to
I
Monterey.
won't say I told you so.
Yeah, well, okay, give it to me. That's all right. I've had nothing but issues. It won't marry up with my phone.
Oh, you mean with your phone? Okay, hang on. No,
That too.
come on.
That too. It's
I know. We
slow.
know each other too well.
Yeah.
So you went to iOS 16?
I updated the phone and I updated my computer, and they're not talking to each other anymore. Yes. And after the update to Monterey, I went to change my desktop background, went into my photos, and not very many came back.
Well, and you've rebooted everything?
I've shut down, I've rebooted. I
So
turn
on the
it every
phone,
night.
the way to do it is you do a hard reset. I'll explain it here. You quickly press and release the volume up, quickly press and release volume down, and then go to the button on the right-hand side and press and hold it. And the screen will come up and say slide to unlock. Don't let go, continue holding it until you see the Apple logo. And that might fix things. But when you say the phone doesn't talk to the computer, in what regard?
Well, for instance, when I'm putting in a new contact,
Yeah.
and then I try to use my phone for it and it's not there.
You put it in on your phone, but it doesn't show up on the computer.
Or vice versa.
Yeah, that's just a default issue, which yeah, and we've got time. So here's important things, and I'll show you where to go because this is very important. And this happens a lot. So everybody can check this on their own while I'm doing this.
Thank you.
I'm going to go to my phone first.
Okay.
As soon as there it is. So we're going to go to settings, the gray gear.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to go down to contacts. And in contacts,
Yeah.
you may have at the bottom something that says default. Do you?
Yes.
Do you?
Oh, it says iCloud.
Well, no, that's good. Just don't change anything, Louise.
I'm not touching anything.
So I do not have default because none of my accounts do I have contacts active except for my iCloud account. So I'm going to click back and that will be at the bottom. If you don't have default there, that means you're on iCloud. Now, the other thing is calendar is the same thing. At the bottom of calendar, you want to look at your default calendar. In my case, it's iCloud and work. So you would check your iPad and do the same thing. And now I'm going to share my computer screen and show you where it is there. And in system actually, I'm sorry, it's not system preferences. Now I go to the actual app contacts.
Okay.
And I go up to contacts preferences. I'm going to put this over the information. And down here, default account. Make sure it's not on my Mac and you want it to correspond to the exact one you have on your contacts on your phone. So in my case, they're both on iCloud.
I see.
So is it say iCloud on your computer?
I was watching you not doing it. Okay.
Okay.
Contacts.
Go to system go to account, go to contacts.
Okay. Here it is.
And then contacts preferences.
Oh, wait a minute.
Under the word contacts up by the Apple logo, click on it and come down to preferences.
I can't get out of this. You know you have a dummy on your hands here.
You can,
I
Are
don't
you
want
in-
to take time to take.
are you in contacts?
No.
Well, you need to get in contacts.
Yeah, I know. but
So
I
for
don't-
everybody else, I'll show you the same thing in calendar. When you go up to calendar and you hit preferences, you want to make sure you're on your same default calendar on your phone and on your computer.
How do I get out of Zoom to do that?
You just click on the Apple logo and come down, and that's all.
On the Apple logo.
Well, actually, you go to the Finder, but in your dock, you should have contacts. You just click on
Okay,
that.
got it. Okay, I'm in contacts. And
Yeah.
where now?
Go up to the word contacts,
Yes, sir.
come down to preferences,
Yes.
and then in the general tab at the
Yes.
bottom, it'll say default account. And what's it say?
On my Mac.
That's the problem. That means it's only on your Mac. You need to change that to iCloud.
Oh, I love it when you make it easy.
Yeah, it should never be on my Mac because that means it's just on the Mac. So
Ooh. So everything so they'll talk to each other now regardless of which I'm using.
all that means is default contact means when you create a new contact, it's going to be put into whichever one you chose. In your case, you were creating it on your Mac and it was only going into on my Mac.
Right.
So it's still kind of there, but you just change it. And calendars will be the same way. So,
Okay.
all right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I didn't see. Oh, I got two other questions. Mary, go ahead. Unmute yourself, please.
I wanted to add something about contacts. I was kind of in a stressful situation the other day and I tried to add a new contact and I couldn't see how to do it. So it's just a reminder that you have to go to
Wait,
the,
were you on the phone or a Mac?
I was on the phone.
Okay,
And
so let me pull mine up. Let me
Yeah,
show
I
you.
mean, I did it, but it just,
Well,
if
well,
you
I have
a
some,
contact.
I
open-
have something else to show that I
Okay.
have in my presentation, but I will show it now since we're doing it, because for me, it was an awakening.
Oh,
So
good.
if I go into my contacts and I hit the plus sign, then I make a contact. But the newest thing, and I found this out on my own, and I have looked in every single OS since the very first phone OS, because we could never do groups
Oh,
on the iOS device.
great.
And you can now, and it's called, I don't know why they called it lists, but there's lists. You can make lists,
Nice.
and how you make a new group is you tap add list. So again, I'm in contacts, and up at the top in the left, you normally could go see your groups and choose them. Now they call them lists. I'm sure I'm willing to bet in Ventura, they're going to call it lists on the phone or on the computer. But anyway, now you have add list, and you can use groups called lists on it now. So that's
Nice.
the holy grail.
How do you get to that list?
Just go to your contacts on your phone if you're on iOS 16.
Oh, only in 16. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, only in 16. I've been waiting. This is the 16th iteration of OS, and I actually thought in iOS 6 we were going to get it. Then I was hoping iOS 8, and then finally. And it's pretty unheralded. I didn't read anything about it anywhere. I just was doing something else, and I said, let's look if it's in here. And it is. So anyway, it made me very happy.
And Ken, what I wanted to say about the contacts, when I was flustered and I had a specific contact open, and I was trying to add a new contact, and it took me a minute to realize you have to go back to the list. And so I just wanted to mention that because other people may get in the same kind of situation.
Yeah. So, and the other thing is, if you get an email or a phone call, that's an easy way to add contacts too, is directly from that. So good point, Mary. Darian, go right ahead. Unmute yourself, please.
Thank you. Yes. So this has been very interesting about the defaults, and it turns out that for both my calendar and contacts, I have put work, but I have no idea what that means. I don't know why I put it there. Probably it sounded impressive. So I've told it something that I don't even know what that might reference.
Well, when you click on it, you see other ones you can make it be default.
So it's okay.
Well, you just want them. Okay. Normally, you want them to be an iCloud account. So calendar is different than contacts. On contacts, it's if you have a Gmail or an AOL or cloud, you want it to be the cloud. And then you also want it to be that on your computer. With calendars, you want it to be the iCloud calendar, but you may have different calendars within iCloud, and you want them to be similar. They have to be the same. And that just means, so you can make your dentist appointment in your work calendar, and then it'll show up on your other device. But what happens is you can still go in and change that to, say, the family calendar or something else. Default just means when you create a new one, whether it be a contact or an event in the calendar, what one do you want it to go into? And that's best you create it. And then once you've created it, you can change it to a different one. And sometimes they don't show up because the other thing is in the actual app itself, the calendar app on the phone or the calendar app on the Mac, you have to make sure that that calendar that you've put it in is active. In other words, has a check mark that it's active. And as far as contacts, you want to make sure you're not in one of those groups instead of being in all contacts, and then they show up. Okay.
Thank you.
Let's see what else here. Oh, thanks for that, Harmon. I'll check that out. Hopefully I can get a fantastic, I'll have to figure out where it is. There's some wonderful waterfalls. He said he said it to everybody in the KVI yard auction. There's item 21A is a fantastic photograph of waterfall in Iceland. Actually, there's one I've been watching. It's they have a couple locations where they've got 24-hour webcams. And I'm hoping I get the Northern Lights too. That's going to be a big deal for me. So anyway, let's go. And that's probably it for questions. The timing's pretty good. If you need to take a break, go ahead. But otherwise, I'll start pounding through now. The presentation, please ask questions as I go along. I won't be able to see your hand up too easily. I have some co-hosts that'll help with that. And we'll go from there. I'm going to share my screen. And we'll get Keynote going here. And so, new from Apple. And, you know, the thing for me about getting older is there's so much new stuff coming along the way. I can't wait for the next thing. And it really is just amazing, the technology stuff that's coming up. So Apple had this event 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it was about the Apple Watch, the 8 and the Ultra, and we'll show some pictures of those in a minute. They also introduced a new version of the AirPods Pro, the AirPods Pro 2, kind of creative on their naming. The case is better. It has a spot for a lanyard. It can charge with your regular phone charger. It can charge with the watch charger, and they've changed some little bit of the difference on them. I have them and I love them. Oh, I should mention, I have a pair of old iPods Pro, the original ones, and they replaced, the case is old, but it works great. But the ones inside they replaced 6 months ago on a warranty for me. So I have one of those. This should have been back in member announcements. I apologize. I have a pair of iPods Pro, the originals for sale. And I also have an Apple Watch 6 cellular version available in the blue aluminum. So let's wait till the end and you can talk to me about that. I have it set so I can trade it back into Apple, but I'll sell it to somebody for, you know, what my trade-in is, and you can get it pretty cheap if you want. Last one is the new iPhone 14 and the 14 Pro. We'll talk about that. And then I'm going to close out with iOS 16, and iOS 16, I will go into great detail on the Saturday class. So moving right along, this was the logo on the invitation. That's what I have behind me here. And that was, it was kind of weird. Nobody, a lot of times they give you an idea what's coming up, but I don't think this really, I can see what part of it was, and you'll see during the presentation here. So new iPhone 14 and 14 Pro, new Apple Watch 8 and iPods Pro. They look so similar to the current ones. Just some neat graphics. There's a new color in the watch. And again, so it's the Apple Watch 8. Last year was the Apple Watch 7. So I had the 6 because the 7 wasn't much of an upgrade from the 6. Slightly bigger screen. I'd have to say that if you got the 7, there's not really a reason to go to the 8. It's got a few more features in it. Not necessarily in our age demographic, but the new watches have the 8 and the Ultra have a temperature sensor in them so that women can do their cycle tracking. And it's interesting because they're not saying we can do body temperature with it, because I have a feeling what it is it's probably not a super accurate way to measure your body temperature. But I think what it is to be able to do cycle tracking, they're going to do what the temperature is. And we'll just say it's X, because it may not say you're at 98.6, but what it does is it's the trend of a temperature, and everybody's. So I think I don't think it's accurate enough to say we can take our body temperature for it, but it is accurate enough to tell trends. And that's what it's looking for when it's doing cycle tracking. So I don't know. And I wished it could tell air temperature, but I think they're probably gonna make some improvements to that. But for now, or coming up very shortly, it'll do the cycle tracking. Just a neat display on it, and the display is bigger. Another thing is if you buy an Apple Watch, you get 3 months of Apple Fitness that you can get, and you can do the fitness on the watch where you have different exercises and things, and they have them for all levels. So it's a good chance to try that out. The most important thing about the Apple Watch, it has fall detection. And I can't tell you how important this is. It will sense that you've fallen. It will then vibrate and say, I detected you falling. Did you fall? And then it asks you to do this feedback on the left. I fell, but I'm okay, or I didn't fall. So the idea is that it will sense that, and it'll help it improve it. Now, let's say you fell and you don't respond. It will start beeping, it'll vibrate, and it will call people in your medical ID, and it will call 911 and become a hands-free speakerphone for you. So fall detection is very, very essential as you get older, because it's just one of those things. It happens, and you fall and you bump your head. That's nobody's going to find you, but they'll come if it'll call 911. And that's if you have your phone with you, and if you have the cellular version. So if you have your phone, the watch calls through the phone. If you have the cellular version with the red ring around the crown, even if you're not paying the $10 a month to your carrier to have your watch constantly connected to your cell carrier, it will call 911 for you. So I always get the watch with the cellular connection, but this is the first time with the Ultra that I've actually done it where I'm paying the $10 a month for the cellular connection. And again, as we go along, Mary, go ahead. Any other questions, please?
No, I just had a comment on this. I was in a car accident this weekend.
That's coming up. Hold on.
Oh, with the watch. Okay.
Hold on. Hold on.
Then never mind.
You're giving away the ending, like in Patton.
Spoiler alert.
So sorry, Ken. I didn't.
That's okay. No, it's perfect, but I want to hear more about your situation. Anyway, the other thing is not on the Apple Watch SE, but on the 5, the 6, the 7, the 8, and the Ultra, it can detect atrial fibrillation. It has an ECG or an EKG where you rest your finger on the crown and it takes a reading for 30 seconds. Those same watches also have the ability to do your blood oxygen levels. And that's, as some people mentioned about the sleeping, that's really good because that tells you whether you've got sleep apnea or not. But it also tells you how oxygenated your blood is. And it's not so much that reading, it's that reading over time that the doctors can use. Now, the watch always detects your heart rate, and you can set parameters for that to let you know if it's too high or too low and things like that. But it's just amazing. And the amount of data that it gathers is making medicine so much better. So the newest thing is the Apple Watch and the new iPhones can detect if you're in a car crash. So, Mary, tell us about it.
Well, I have an older watch, but I was hit in a car crash and the airbag went off, and but my watch went off and it said, have you fallen? And I didn't answer it immediately. I was a little rattled, to say the least.
Yeah.
And then it went off again until I responded to it. So I just was going to say it's valuable.
And it gave a shrill sound too before it called, right?
Yeah, it didn't call. I don't have it set up to call 911 because mine tends to go off. It was going off too much because I had a dog. That was setting it off. But at any rate, but I could have if I had.
Well, if you had the new watch,
yep,
or the newer phones, it would have detected you were actually in a car crash, and that's amazing. So I've got a video on that. So it detects the crash and it starts counting down, and it'll be letting you know. So you have time to say, no, cancel it, I'm okay. Kind of like with the fall detection, because they don't want to cry wolf too many times. So they're making it so that it lets you know, and it really only needs to go through when it's a real crash. So these are the new Apple Watch 8 in the colors, Series 8, and you can see the crystal, the watch face goes around the sides. The red indicator means that it's a cellular version. If you don't have the red indicator around the crown, you don't have a cellular version. So different bands, obviously different faces, a few different things. One thing that's kind of you can do now too is there are some Nike workout apps that were only if you bought the Nike Apple Watch, but they're available on all the watches now. So the new watches, the 8, have international roaming if you have cellular. They have this temperature sensing. And again, I think that's only in its early stages. The cycle tracking is something that's very important for younger women. And in the lower right here, there are some new sleeps there. So Vic, this may help Vic. There's some new sleep stages and some better sensitivity on that. I'm not sure if that's just the watch itself or it is the iOS 16. So you can look into that. And the nice thing is, in the health app, we have medication reminders now. You can set it to remind you about medications. Crash detection, the ECG, the blood oxygen, and they've added some other workout types of workouts. So, and that's in iOS 16. The Apple Watch SE starts at $249. And when you look at this, $299 is GPS and cellular, which means it has the ability to use the cellular service. And for a $50 difference, that should be a no-brainer. The other one, they just say GPS, but what they really mean is it essentially is Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connected to the phone for its connectivity. So like if you want to go on a walk without your phone and you want to listen to a podcast or something like that, if you have GPS and cellular and you pay your carrier $10 a month, you can do text, you can do phone calls, you can stream music, you can do anything you want, just like it would be with your phone. Otherwise, with the GPS only, you need to tether it to a phone.
Ken, I didn't follow you when you said that you buy the cellular phone, but you don't pay for cellular service.
Okay, so I buy the cellular watch that has the ring. Well, up until this time. So my reasoning on this is my phone is always with me, and I try to be frugal. I only buy this stuff for you guys. Otherwise, I'd probably be sporting the Apple Watch too, which is not true. But anyway, but I hate monthly fees. I'm just that way. And I always bought the Apple Watch with cellular, but didn't activate the service because my phone is always with me. I have changed let me explain how that works. So let's say you're at the gym and you put your phone in the locker. Let's say the gym has Wi-Fi, like here at Sun City, the gym, and then you can go 100 yards away and the locker room is 100 yards away from where the gym is. If I leave the phone in the locker room and it's on Wi-Fi in our building, and the watch senses that Wi-Fi, I can be anywhere in that building away from the phone because my watch without cellular, so either watch will do this, is linked along the Wi-Fi to my phone. Okay, so calls would come in and everything else. I'm not dependent on the cellular network. It is still inherently attached to my phone because everybody thinks it's just Bluetooth. No, there's Wi-Fi in it. So if you're on a Wi-Fi network that you've connected to, it works. Now the cellular is such that if I don't pay for the service, the only benefit I have of getting a cellular watch, which is like $100 more, usually on the SE, it's only about $50 more. It has to have the cellular radio in it. And if I need to call 911, even though I don't pay for a service, it will call 911. Just like any old phone you have that may no longer have service on it, it will always call 911. So what I did for my mom when she got older, I took an old phone of hers and an old phone of mine, and I kept it on a charger, and I wrapped the cord around the toilet paper holder because the bathroom is where accidents happen in houses. And so that phone was always there and always charged, and she could always call 911 if she needed it. And that's a thing you guys should think about. Okay. Did that answer the question about the cellular for the watch?
Well, kind of, but it sounds, I guess I still don't see why you would get the cellular if you're not planning to pay for it. Because what is the benefit?
In case my phone is dead
Oh,
or not with me, and I'm out riding my bike and I need to call 911.
okay.
It was strictly for security, or if I wanted to activate it. Now, I have activated it with the Ultra just because I got thinking about it. I'm going, now, when I go out on a walk, I don't have to take my darn phone with me. I can play my podcasts and I can get calls and texts, and I have my AirPods in my ears. I'm not having to lug my phone around anymore. So I finally got to that point where I said, look, it's just worth it. And it's the safety factor. And for me, the other thing is with travel, and I'm going to show you some other safety factor stuff coming up. So, but you have to have cellular service, you have to buy the watch that's GPS and cellular. Same thing with iPad. They offer some iPads that are Wi-Fi only or Wi-Fi and cellular. And by the way, if you ever use an iPad as a GPS device, you can only use the cellular version, even if you don't have you would want a cellular service on it, because the cellular chip and the GPS chip are the same chip on an iPad. So Apple came out with a new watch called the Ultra. And this is a scene. So I'll be using this because we're going to be doing northern lights and some star photography. So I will turn my watch into this red so it doesn't glare us on what we're doing. And you simply turn the crown and it turns to that red look like that. And red is designed that it doesn't glare you out when you're trying to do things at night. So that's an option in the Ultra. So this is the first picture of the Ultra. Then this is the Ultra. Now, this watch is designed for very active people. I used to be very active, but for me, there's some reasons that I got the Ultra is because of the connectivity and some of the things it will do. For instance, the compass. If I'm hiking, I can use the compass on it, and it's big on the watch, and it can do it. The other compass works, but it's just an amazing, amazing watch. And I like a bigger watch anyway, and it makes it so you can see it. And that was mine that was displayed on the phone earlier. So it's a titanium case around it. Part of the reason I got this is the speakers are better. There are, I think, 3 microphones and 2 speakers. And so you can use it to communicate so much better. And for me, the ability to use it while I'm skiing is a big deal. And so that's why I went with the Ultra. The band you see on the left is called, I think it's called the Alpine Loop. And it's pretty rugged, and it's designed, and it's really neat how they did it. The one in the center is a little bit more of a thinner Velcro. The watch is the same. It's the different watch bands. And the last one on the right is the underwater diving band. And it's really unique because the new Ultra watch, if you're a diver, this can replace your dive computer. And at $799, that's a pretty good deal, actually, because it's good down to 30 meters or 100 feet, which is recreational diving. And what they do is they offer a second band. So there's 2 pieces to the band, the long piece of the band. So that way, if you're going to put it around a wetsuit, you have a second band and you just slide it right in, and you have your regular wrist, or you have it around like that. And you can change the bands around all you want. It does have this orange button on the side. So that's a new button compared to the other watches. And it is a button you can assign to do certain tasks. You could say, start my backtracking, for instance, like we talked about, or have it be Siri, or do, bring up something, bring up a certain fitness app. So it's just an action button that's programmable on the side. So this is the face on it. This is similar to what I had. It's got this has got your elevation all the time. So it has a barometer in it, and it uses GPS to determine the elevation. This is your compass heading. And of course, it says it here. And it's really funny because as I move the watch, so the other thing is the newer watches are on all the time. And when you raise your wrist, it changes from a clock to a compass, depending on how I'm orienting it. So that's the Ultra. Big thing here, 60 hours of battery life. And that's realistic. And the other ones, I think they're considered over 20 hours, 24 hours. The watch is very miserly. But now this extend, because it's a bigger one, they put a bigger battery in it. And the idea is if you're going out for 3 days and you're camping or something, you don't have to charge it. But some people, the comments on this from the testers that went out and they're writing for magazines and things like that, or for podcasts and things, they're all upset. Well, it's only good for 60 hours, blah, blah, blah. I have this little thing that's keychain size that it's looks like a key fob for your car. And I charge that up. I use that when I'm on long flights to charge my Apple Watch. So all they have to do is carry one of those, and this 160 or this 60 hours becomes 180 hours. And then you could still charge it if you want with a little solar panel. So it's kind of that falls on deaf ears, and they didn't do their research to find out there's other alternatives that make it so you can keep it charged. I've been using that with the regular watch forever. So $799. And here's one thing you need to realize. It's like $100 or $129 for cellular on the regular Apple Watch 8. So this only comes in cellular because of the functionality on it. It is a sapphire crystal. The other thing that's really nice about this, the crystal sits below the titanium edge. It's totally flat and it's somewhat protected. The whole idea, it's designed to be a rugged watch. So any questions on the Ultra? This is something also that came up, especially you people that do sleep tracking and stuff. Only in this OS, somebody had asked me, hey, can I set up 2 watches to one phone? And you can now in the newest iOS 16. You go into the Apple Watch app, and in the upper left, it'll say all watches. When you press that, you get the screen on the right. And then right down here, you add the watch. So I still have my old watch on here because I haven't decommissioned it yet, but that's how I added my new watch, was add watch, and then you can have them concurrently, and obviously you can have more than 2. But this solves the problem of it needing to be charged while you're sleeping at night. To be honest, these batteries last so long that if you don't need the watch while you're in the shower, if you're not worried about falling in the shower, pretty much while you take a shower, your watch on a good charger will charge enough to last you for another 24 hours. Harmon, go ahead with your question.
If you go back one slide where we saw the case from the side, no, you go back 3 there. The one on the left looks like it has ears for the band. The one on the right looks like it's integral into the case.
Oh, okay. So first of all, if you have the older watch 44 and 45 millimeter bands, they will work on this. And do you have an Apple Watch currently?
No, I just watch what my brother does with his.
Okay, so what it is the way this works is, let's look at the orange one on the side. You see the band is orange on the left, and then there's a piece of metal that actually slides in and out of the watch to make it easy to change bands. You press a small button.
So the case is the same, but the one on the left has the extra tab to put into the case.
Right. And what happens is, because it's nylon, so it has a titanium plug, as does this one in the center, but this rubberized one has just an ending on it, but it also is not just the rubberized. It's got a little metal piece in there that makes it so it clicks in. But this is the whole carrier, because the one on the right, the diving one, doesn't need a loop in it, but the ones that are nylon need to have a loop to go around. So that's what and very observant, but it is, and it's exactly how the current watches are.
Yeah, well, it's just from one side, but I can see what you're talking about for those.
They go both sides and they slide out.
Yeah.
And there it looks like it's part of the watch, but it's not. It slides in and out. And then there's a healthy aftermarket of watch bands also. All right, the new AirPods Pro 2, they now come with 4 different tips. They used to come with 3 for fitting in the ears. Another thing, even if you have the existing AirPods, the phone now in iOS 16 can take the camera and you hold it up next to your, or away from your ear, but the camera's shining on it, and it will actually analyze the shape of your ear and shape the spatial sound for the AirPods to your particular ear, because everybody has different channels and how they look. So they've really done a great job with these. Another hour longer in battery life, but they're pretty much the same as the AirPods 2. That's it. They're $249. That's the same as the old price. Again, with a new Apple Watch, you get 3 months of Apple Fitness. And while this looks like a pretty active class, they have all levels in there. So if you get a new watch, you get 3 months of it. Give it a try. You can watch it on the Apple Watch. You can watch it on the phone, an iPad, or your Apple TV. So, speaking of car and crash detection, we hit on it just briefly in the Apple Watch, but the iPhone 14s now have crash detection. So I'll turn this up And Mary, do me a favor. If you raise your hand, if the sound isn't very good when this starts, okay?
Got it.
So that's pretty compelling. And they've done a lot of testing. If the watch is hooked to your dash, that will sense the car crash, or if it's in a purse sitting between the console or on the seat, it will detect the crash too. The thing here is they had to do a ton of testing because the false positives are the hardest thing to design around. So pretty amazing that they were able to incorporate this. So
Ken, you said if the watch is mounted or whatever, you meant
no,
the
no, no.
phone.
If the phone is mounted to the mount, to
Yeah.
a car mount, it's going to act differently than if it's loose on your seat. Does that make sense? Okay. Dale asks, any other important functional trade-offs with the Ultra Watch without adding the $10 a month? No, it's exactly what I described earlier. If you have your phone with you at all times and you're comfortable with that, you don't need cellular. It comes with cellular, but you don't need the $10 a month service. And then the other thing is some of the cell providers will give you a discount on the in fact, they have, I think T-Mobile has a buy one, get one for half off or something if you sign up for service. Well, I was only buying one, so I wasn't a candidate, but look for your carrier because, and then what they do is they make you stay on the service for 24 months. But if you're going to use the service anyway, that's not bad. So I'd look into that. But no, Dale, there's really no, it's the same. The Ultra is no different than the regular watch, other than the fact that it comes equipped to do cellular. It's up to you if you want a cellular service. But in some stuff coming up here, I'm going to show you where I think that's even a little more important. The new phones not only do crash detection, they can communicate with satellites. And let's show you how important that is. It's basic. You're not going to use this for internet. You're not going to use it to make phone calls. You're going to send a short message because it's no problem for a satellite getting a signal down to you. But this little device you have in your hand is sending the signal 100 miles away to a satellite. It's amazing it can do this. It was kind of interesting. They showed a little tag along the bottom and it said sequences shortened for this thing. Yeah, it's kind of like the helicopter was there in 20 seconds. So yes, that's what it is. But the deal with this is in the new phones, the iPhone 14s, they have built in an antenna that can communicate with the satellites. It is not designed to surf the internet. It won't do it. It's unlikely you could make a phone call, even though phones uses less data. But the idea is the message may not go out right away. It stores it in the queue, and then it waits till it gets a signal and it'll try to get it to the satellite. And like I said, a satellite's a big object. It can send information down to you a lot easier. Like for instance, your GPS. A GPS is a one-way version of a satellite. Those GPS satellites are actually up farther away. They're up in geosynchronous orbit, so they're up farther away. They send a radio signal down that we can receive in our phone all the time. Your car does, everything else. But to be able to send something to the satellite is a big deal. So part of this is how you angle your phone and different things like that. But in the areas where you do not have cellular coverage, all over the world, this is amazing. This will be starting in November, and you get 2 years of the service for free. They have not said if they'll start charging after that or what that charge will be. 2 meetings ago, I showed you guys about T-Mobile, who has connected with Starlink. And starting next year, Starlink will be sending up the second version of their satellites. And it will work. It actually works. You don't have to have a satellite antenna in the phone. It works in any modern phone. And it uses the same band, the mid-range band that the cell towers use. So that's really, really interesting. So, and that's going to be free and included and will hopefully roll out worldwide. Dennis, I'm going to answer your question and make sure I do when I get to the cameras. So the idea is this will, because the antenna, an antenna has orientation. I mean, think back in the old days when you had rabbit ears and you put the foil on it and you twist the rabbit ears on the TV to get a certain thing. Antennas are that way because, well, first of all, they have to be in the phone. You can't have them sticking out the back and sticking out the front. They go this way. And so it's gonna maximize the antenna signal and tell you where to hold your phone for optimal connectivity. And obviously, if you're in a cave or you're in a valley where it can't reach a satellite, that's pretty tough, but it's pretty darn good. So we have the iPhone 14 and the 14 Pro. We're going to talk about the 14, then the 14 Pro, and then we're going to talk about the differences. The iPhone 14 repeats. It's essentially the iPhone 13. It's 1 year newer. There's not a ton difference. They used to offer the 13 mini and the 13 and the 13 Max. Well, now what they've done is they're offering no more mini. It's still in the 13. The 14 is the regular size and what used to be called the Max size, and now it's the 14 Plus. The bigger phone has a little longer battery life. The text is a little bigger, but everything else, the components are the same. It's the A15 chip, which is the chip that was used in the Pros last year. It's a very capable chip, and this is a better value. There are 2 lenses rather than 3. I'll talk about that in a second. So the pricing starts at $799 and $899, but I encourage you to check with your carrier. There are incentives, not just for new customers. The carriers are getting smart. They're trying to hold on. Well, I don't want to say they're smart. They're realizing they lose customers, so they're also doing some stuff to try to keep you as a customer. So there are some incentives. The next one is the iPhone 14 Pro. It's a couple hundred more. It has a little nicer screen, but it has 3 lenses in the camera. So I'm going to talk about a bit about it, and then we're going to talk about which one you might want. So the big thing in the new 14 Pro and Pro Max, they're exactly the same innards and the same camera. The newest camera, where they were all 12 megapixel before, they now offer a 48 megapixel. So what that means is if you blow a picture up that you take with the 1X lens, it will be much clearer before it starts to pixelate. This is the ultra wide, which is fantastic. And this is this isn't the 12 one anyway. So this is a really neat thing. Obviously, it's really good studio lighting here, but these are colorful falling feathers, and you can see the detail in the photo. These are all iPhone 14 Pro shots. Now, the iPhone Pro comes with 3 lenses, but you actually get 4 focal lengths. In the past, we've always had the 0.5 and the 1X, which is ultra wide and wide. 1X is very similar to like a 50 millimeter on a regular camera. We used to have 2X, and then we went to 2.5, and now the zoom is 3X. And you can see from the picture how much zoom that is. But Ken, there's only 3 lenses. How do we get 4 focal lengths? And one of the important things is, do not use pinch to zoom on your camera on your phone, because that is digital zoom. You always want to use 0.5, 1X, or if you have others on there, use 2X or 3. Don't do in between. You can do that when you crop after the fact, because the problem is you're digitally zooming and that loses the clarity. Now, if it's something you don't care about, you're not going to print it, you don't care what it is, yeah, you can zoom in to get a better read on it yourself. But you can see here, actually, we starting from the right, you see how zoomed it is. It's the same phone, the same picture, with it farther and farther zoomed out.
Wow.
And in some, go ahead. Somebody had something? Okay. Anyway, so there's times when the ultra wide would be really good because you want to feature the people in front and not the people way back in the back. If you get the iPhone 14, not the Pro, you get the 0.5 and the 1X only. You do not get the zoom. And what they're doing here with this new 48 megapixel sensor, the 2X is using the 3X lens down, and it's through wizardry, but it is an optical zoom and it creates the 2X. And I really like that because the previous phone, the 12, had a 2X, and then they went to a 2.5X on the Max, and they went to a 3X. And I find that jumping from the 1 to the 3, a lot of times it was too zoomed in. I lost stuff that I wanted to see. So now I have the option of that. Those 3 lenses are only on the Pro and the Pro Max, not on the 14 and 14 Plus. And this is another thing to show you the 3 lenses. If you start with the right-hand side, that's the shot. And that's, in that case, that's a good shot because you're getting the background and the sunset. That's the 0.5. Then the 1X is in the center. And then the left is the telephoto, the 3X. They didn't do the 2X in here, but you can see the difference. The 2 on the right are the only things you can get with the iPhone 14, and with the Pro, you get the extra lens. So in a nutshell, when people ask me, Ken, which one should I get? And remember, and I'll show you, the 13 still available and stuff. But if you're just taking snapshots and you're not taking photographs, it's okay to go with the 14. You save money, you don't have to worry about it. It's got a fantastic camera. It's got 2 lenses. For me, with my travel, I use my phone so much that to get good photographs, or I should say great photographs, because the other one takes really good photos. I want the Pro so I can get that zoom in. Question, was there? No? Okay. So here are the things in the 14 and the 14 Pro: the emergency SOS, the crash detection, the battery life is extended. They all have what's called MagSafe, so you can put different attachments on the back. It charges through that. Only the Pro has the 48 megapixel. They all have the 12 megapixel ultra wide. And this has the A16 bionic chip, where the 14 has the A15. And another difference is it's 1600 nits versus, I think it was 1200 nits in the previous one. That's the level of brightness of the screen. The other thing the Pro offers is this thing called a dynamic island, which I'll go into when we do the down deep class. So 14 Pro on the left, regular and Max. 14 right here to the left, the regular and the Plus. The 13 mini and the regular 13, and then the iPhone SE, which only has one camera, and it's still a very capable camera, and that phone starts at $429. So here is the comparison sheet, and if you look at it, so a $200 difference between the Pro and the regular, a $200 down to the 13, and then it's down to $429 for the SE. So here's what you get. They all do emergency SOS, which is simply where you press and hold the button, crash detection only on the 14s, and the satellite communication only on the 14s. The cameras, the Pro, 3 lenses, 48 megapixel. The regular 14, it's a dual camera lens and only 12 megapixel. Same thing on the 13. It's essentially the same as this. The front camera is just nicer in the new 14. And then the one camera, the 12 megapixel, which is the 1X in the SE. So any questions on the lineup? And here's the current incentives for some of the carriers. What I warn you is there's no longer contracts on cell phones, but they do, if they give you these credits, what they do is they give it to you in bill credits over, like with T-Mobile, over 24 months. AT&T is 36 months, that $1,000 credit. Verizon is giving you that credit over 30 months, I believe. Check with your carrier on that. I recommend going to Clark.com and look at their cell phone lineup, or another one called Whistle Out. And I'll discuss more of this stuff when we have the Saturday class. Here's the lineup in a nutshell. Actually, this new purple is the new color in the Pro. And these are the sizes and the prices. The starting prices, obviously, they go up from that. The nice thing is they're all got quite a bit of storage in them now from a get-go. iOS 16, I'm gonna bomb through. Dennis asks, is the Apple's trade-in program still good? The trade-in program for me, it was almost a wash. I would have gotten enough trade-in for my phone. So there's the trade-in program and one called the upgrade program. So the Apple trade-in program I thought was very good. My phone, I sold it to a client of mine, and my trade-in value was half of what the phone cost a year ago, but I've only paid for half of it, so it was a wash for me. And the important thing with trade-ins is after a year, you're going to get at least half of the value. After 2 years, you're going to get a little less than half. Once you get to 3 years, it diminishes. And after 3 years, you're not going to get as much trade-in. But also with that trade-in, those are some of those carrier incentives. And the time to, if you're thinking about switching carriers, when you switch carriers is when you want to get a new phone, because they will give you all kinds of great deals. So there's the upgrade program where every year you keep paying the same amount per month, and then you just send them your old phone, get the other one, and you get the new one, and you keep going. It's their upgrade program. So iOS 16, you can see in these pictures right here. And actually, I hope, Dennis, I answered about the 14 on the camera. The Pro Max is on the 14, it's better than if you have the 13 Pro Max. Because of the 48 megapixel, I'd still say that the 13 is a very good phone. If I weren't on the trade-in program, I kind of would have, I don't know. But then again, I go on these big trips and I want to have the best thing when I'm there. So the newest thing in iOS 16 is, well, first of all, shared library is one thing in iOS 16 that's pretty cool. I'm not telling people they should upgrade to iOS 16 yet. If you get a new phone, it's going to be on it. I always recommend waiting until iOS 16.1. So we're on 16.0.2 right now, because there may be some issues. But shared library allows you to share a library with someone that's not your Apple ID, like a family member or something, and you collaborate and both your libraries are together. We've always had shared albums. This is shared library. The other thing is you can notice these lock screens, and it's kind of neat. You can customize your lock screen or what's on the phone. And on the right-hand side over here, Apple Maps now will do multiple waypoints. So for instance, in the case they're showing here, from your location, they went to Target, then they went to Manhattan Beach, and they can add a stop. And gosh, was it 15? Don't quote me on that, but you can add multiple waypoints along your stops, and that's fantastic. So here are the lock screens, and they're just kind of neat. There's also a thing where you can unsend a text message if you get to it quick enough. It's only, as far as I know, it's only if you're sending it to another iPhone. But here's some of the interesting lock screens. And what they've done here is the picture that you choose will kind of cut it out around, and it's over the clock. And I think that's just gorgeous. You can see how their hair sticks up above that. Then the other thing is you can put widgets in this little panel right here. Like this is the moon widget. So it'll tell you what the moon phase is. This shows the battery of your AirPods, and this is your fitness rings. And those are persistent, and those are on the lock screen. And of course, with the new iPhone 14 Pro, it's an always on screen. So the screen goes less light, and it's really amazing. I can look at my phone at night and see the time, but there's not any disruptive light coming from the phone when it's sleeping. But really cool lock screen. There's a bunch of new wallpapers, and some of the wallpapers are interactive. And let's see here. And then this center line here is where you can see the widgets you put in, and you can add widgets just to this bar across here. I'm going to pound through it. This was my big thing here, and we already talked about lists. So iOS, multi-stop routing, you can use the Nike apps now. Focus, which is the old do not disturb, has had further modifications to make it a little easier. Next generation, a new CarPlay, and the Home app has been redone. Notifications are treated a little differently too. They kind of show up down below. I'm still getting used to it. I'm not, actually, I forgot one. So the coolest thing in iOS 16 is you can, like this image of this dog, you can select it and copy, and it just gives you an outline of the dog, and you can paste it into an email. It's doing all this thing that used to take us a long time with a lasso tool in Photoshop and stuff, and you can take an image out of it. Like there's one that they show in a movie here where it's, if it's two images, if it's two flowers next to each other, it picks them both up. So it's really pretty cool. So that's iOS 16. We don't want to see this because that'll take too long because we have the raffle coming up. And in the class, I'll show you. Okay, I got to make a caveat right now. If you get a new phone, the Apple Store, or if you have it mailed to you, there's two ways to set up the new phone. I'm going to show you this quickly because I have two people that this
new iPhone
had trouble with.
Use iCloud to transfer your apps and data from your previous iPhone and easily set up your.
Sorry.
New iPhone? You can use iCloud to transfer your apps and data from your previous iPhone and easily set up your new device. First, make sure your previous iPhone and new iPhone are nearby. Then swipe up from the bottom edge of the new iPhone and follow the on-screen instructions until you see the Quick Start screen.
Please choose English and United States. And the little trick on that is when it comes up, it'll give you a whole list of countries. Type the letter W and it'll take you past the United States and you'll be able to select it.
It was there by default.
You'll see a prompt to set up the new iPhone. Confirm the Apple ID that appears and tap Continue. Hold your previous iPhone over the new iPhone so the animation displayed on the new device appears within the circle. Once the circle turns green, you can finish the quick start process on your new iPhone. Enter your previous iPhone passcode. Then follow the prompts to activate cellular service and
When you do Face ID, think about yourself as Pinocchio with a 2-foot long pencil sticking out of your nose, and you're trying to draw a circle with the end of the pencil is the easiest way to do Face ID.
set up Face ID. On the transfer your data.
Now, this is where it's important. The Apple Store, and even here they recommend download from iCloud because you may be trading in another phone. Do not do it this way. I just had a client. I was picking up some computers for another client, and I was at the Apple Store, and they were there, and then the guy convinced him to not take it home and do it because they were going to trade in the phone. Do not do download from the cloud. He had, for instance, a bunch of notes that were on the phone, but not on iCloud. Remember how we talked about different accounts? None of those came over because he didn't, it was all coming down from the cloud. The cloud is quicker, but it's not the way you do it. So what you do is you're either going to walk away with the phone and say, I bring this back. You have like 7 days to return the phone. Or if you get it by mail, you go transfer to the phone and do this late at night. Because in my case, I have so much data and so many photos, it was a 6-hour transfer and neither phone could work at that time. So I mistakenly did it during the middle of the day. And I'm going, man, and I went and played golf and I'm out there without my phone. Well, to me, my phone's with me so much, it feels like I've just gone outside and I only have underwear on, but it's just weird. But anyway, you do it at night and it'll be ready the next day, but make sure both phones are plugged into power and it transfers everything perfectly. Don't trust download from iCloud. I just can't stress that enough. So that's how you do it. And Bob, regarding the default, it doesn't always default. So
Well, mine did.
well, but on half the ones I've done, it doesn't. So
Okay.
yeah, but it's so if it doesn't, it should show up United States at the top. If not, hit W so you don't have to scroll through this long list. And don't hit U because you'll be at the top of the U's. Uzbekistan or something is going to be on top. Hit W and then you can hit United States. So yeah, and it does it. Dennis, by the way, Dennis Cross, have you told your wife about the Dive computer in the watch yet? You're muted.
She was listening.
Oh, well, wait a minute. And you said she can't get it and she's hit you on the head and now you have a bandage on, right?
Little surgery, yeah. But it says to 100 feet. The question is, what happens if you go below 100 feet?
I believe that it's certified waterproofness is to that.
Yeah.
So you can check in that. There's the certification on it for waterproofness is the same as a Dive computer, but you can do some other research on that. So, but I think it's good below it, but I don't know if it's accurate below it. But and Oceanic is what they're using. We're not sure if there's even going to be a fee for their app or whatever, but it's cool.
She's gonna look into it and see.
Yeah.
Christmas present.
Sweet. Okay. Any questions before we get? Oh, go ahead, Dennis.
Yeah, and just to clarify, going to the 14. So I've always done the upgrade to Apple and so forth.
Yeah.
Versus going to, now we're in T-Mobile and getting there versus getting it from Apple. Am I looking at a wash?
Well, yeah. And so the incentive, and it's a great question. The incentives, if T-Mobile has incentives, you can get them through Apple. I always prefer to get it from Apple because it's definitely unlocked that way.
Yeah.
And, it's one of those other things where you can see what's up and, you're dealing with Apple instead of, and T-Mobile, their corporate stores are great, but they're non-corporate stores. You don't know what's going on. So I doubt that you would get any difference in incentives because they work very closely with them. I remember back in the old days, T-Mobile actually had on iPhone intro day, they stationed an employee from T-Mobile inside the Apple store to take care of stuff.
Wow.
That was smart. So,
But it's good. I like the upgrade program. It's really,
yeah, it's
Hey.
fantastic.
so thank you.
You bet. And Mary, you have a question. And Carlos, I saw your note and I'll get with you on that.
Just a comment that watch out when you're getting a phone that you pay for over time, because sometimes they charge you for the insurance on the phone, and you might not want to buy Apple and Care, or you might buy app. Anyway, just ask that question when you're getting a phone over time.
Good point. And if you are going to have to get insurance, do not get it from your carrier, because Apple Care is a better deal and they have a lower deductible. And but Apple Care, these, if you're getting a high-end phone, the price to insure the high-end phone, if you buy the top of the iPhone Pro Max, I think Apple Care is the same as on the lower end iPhone 14. And so, you want to take a look at that. But if you're doing the upgrade program, I believe they require it. There's two types of Apple Care now too. Well, there's actually two variations in two types. Apple Care can be bought as a $99 a year or a 2-year thing for $149 or whatever, or you can pay monthly and you can go in perpetuity. In other words, it can go beyond the normal 2 years. So as long as you're paying for it, it's still covered. So you can do that. But there's a second add-on to Apple Care now for like $3 a month. You can have it covered for loss or stolen also, not just repairs and all that. It's extra coverage on there, and you can do that. So look and scrutinize Apple Care. I'm not going to make a recommendation either way, but I think when you look at the price of the phone and you have to figure that an iPhone costs this much, hey, maybe it's a little more worth it. Another trick is, I know Wells Fargo credit cards, not debit cards, but Wells Fargo credit cards and a few other credit cards, very few. If you pay your monthly cell phone bill, I'm not saying by the phone, but you pay your monthly cell phone bill with a card that has cellular protection, up to 4 lines it covers, and it will pay the first $600 against your phone with a $99 deductible. Oh no, I'm sorry, a $25 deductible. And I think you get 2 incidents a year for that. So look into that. And again, that means paying your monthly bill, not the phone itself. Check with your credit card. Your mileage may vary. Mary, you've got a question before we get into the raffle here?
Nope, it's Lisa.
I'm sorry, Lisa. I was looking at you and thinking, okay.
Yeah. Well, another wrinkle is if you have an Apple credit card, you used to be able to get 3% at the Apple store. Don't know how that works with T-Mobile or any of the other vendors and payments. So, just to confuse the issue even further.
Yeah. No, yeah, the 3% on the Apple card is great, and that's cash back right away. Generally speaking, if you're on the Apple upgrade program, they bill a credit card is what you use. So you could use the Apple card for that. I use a different card for it, but that brings it up. So that's good. All right, we're going to move to the raffle, and I'm looking, Bob sent the message with the number, and I don't know why I don't see it.
It was 295 if I
got it. Okay.
But then I don't know what the ladies have the smaller number.
Right. So we're going to do the raffle. What's our number for attendees?
We have 42 for the attendees.
All right. So the way this works, you guys, it's probably old hat, but I like to review it ahead of time. So I'm going to have Siri generate a random number, and you'll hear it. And if I, for some reason, misspeak and it doesn't do it correctly, no matter what number comes up, we won't use it. We redraw again before we find out who the number has. So Mary and Lisa are the only ones that have access to the list and they've numbered, they verified all the members and have assigned everyone a number of the members in attendance. And then at the end of the raffle, we have for the entire membership, and your number will be, if your number won't be the same as on the first list, because one is a 1 through 42 and the other one is a 1 through 295. So if 6 comes up twice, it's not necessary. It's almost impossible to be the same person. So moving forward, we're going to do 4 $25 gift cards to Amazon, and then 2 $100 gift cards for the members in attendance to Amazon. If you win a 25 and then you win a 100, you need to give us one back so we can re-raffle it. And I suggest that you give us back the 25 and we'll put it back into the mix, but that's up to you. And then we'll have one last $100 raffle that goes to the entire membership, and everyone is up for that. So that being said, we'll do the first $25 one. Give me a random number between 1 and 42.
The answer is 19.
19. I have no access to those numbers, but Lisa does.
Jennifer Kerr.
Jennifer Kerr, congratulations. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, and give me a random number between 1 and 42.
That would be 39.
39. So we're up at the upper end.
Cheryl Souza.
Congratulations, Cheryl. Give me a random number between 1
Thank
and
you.
42.
The answer is 16.
16.
Indalus, if I'm saying that right. Indalus Canaans.
Congratulations. And the last $25 gift card. Give me a random number between 1 and 42.
It's 19.
We already had 19, didn't we?
Yes.
Yep. So we've got to redraw that. I assume you don't want to, which 25 card does that person want? Give me a random number between 1 and 42. And
The
don't
answer
make
is
it
23.
19. 23.
John Hart.
John Hart, congratulations, John.
Thank you.
All right. So don't do Siri. Okay. Okay. She was trying to speak up and help me. So now we're going to do the first of the $100 gift cards. Give me a number between 1 and 42.
It's 35.
35.
Ray Bolke.
Ray always wins, man. He's so lucky. Good job, Ray.
Woohoo. Thanks. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. All right. The last of the $100 gift cards for those in attendance. Give me a random number between 1 and 42.
It's 25.
25. Drum roll.
Mary?
What? No, that isn't the. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was for the all.
No,
members.
we're not on that one yet. We're on the regular.
Okay, it's 25. Number 25 is Karen Pappas. Papa.
Congratulations, Karen. Now we're going to do it between 1 and 295 for the entire membership. Give me a random number between 1 and 295.
The answer is 69.
69.
Okay. Scrolling. Russ Helen.
Russ Helen, congratulations.
It's Helen Russ.
Helen Russ. Oh,
It
Helen.
is, in fact. I have my columns in the wrong order. Thanks, Bob.
Okay.
So Helen Russ, that's great. And what we'll do is those of you that won, you will get an email this evening from me. And it's not spam. And in fact, the member one I always put out, I send a personal email to make sure that they know it's not spam and to expect it. So looking back through here, yep, I think we answered all the questions. I'm around for a few minutes if anybody has any. Oh, let's